What if I told you that in the next 90 days, you could be building a lead gen agency that brings in $10,000 a month? Today, I'm going to reveal just that. How I took my lead generation agency when I first started it and built it up to $10,000 a month in just 90 days. That is 6 figures per year. I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. From picking a niche and the exact strategies I've used to scale, I'm going to be pulling back the curtain and sharing everything with you with nothing left out. Let's jump in and share with you exactly how this is done. So as we jump into this video, I do want to do a quick Google search and show you the potential of an agency like this, because a lot of people underestimate the lead gen agency. And the fact is that there's one company who's just absolutely crushing it. If you do a Google search on how much does HomeAdvisor make annually, look at this, 427 million in annual revenue. And there's a lot of other companies out there, but this is one of the bigger ones. And my point to this is if you could capture just a small market share, just a small percentage of market share of what they're doing, I think that you would probably consider that a pretty big success, right? So let's dive into it and talk about how I built my lead gen agency to 10K a month in 90 days when I first started. Now, to think about this logically, you're going to need about 6 to 8 assets producing strong results to make this happen. Whether that be videos that you're putting out there, websites, or you can generate leads even using Craigslist ads to be realistic here, but you're going to need 6 to 8 assets that are producing strong results that you have someone buying those leads for. And that right there is going to get you to that 10K per month mark. That's what it took for me when I started. So that's what it's going to take for you too. Now, if you think about this, that's 2 to 3 closed deals per month, or basically every other week. So every other week, you need to think about closing 2 to 3 of those deals, or like getting those up and running, because then by the time 3 months hits or 90 days hits, you should be at that mark, like no questions, like that mark will be hit. Okay. And what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to spend a couple days building assets that are producing leads, and then you're going to spend a couple days closing. And if you do that, you kind of have that trade-off of building for results and then closing the deals so that you're getting paid for the results. That's going to get you to that 10K a month mark in the 90 days. So I'm going to break down how to do both in this video, and I'm going to give you a full walkthrough of how I automate the process. That is found in my free masterclass in the description of this video, because a lot of stuff that I show you is going to be stuff that you can manually do, but there are ways to automate things and make it completely passive so that like when you set it up, it just runs forever without your involvement. And also, I would like for you to comment yes if you want more content like this. If you find this helpful, you want me to make more videos on this topic, let me know. That helps out by commenting so that I know to keep making more videos. Okay, so let's start off with the basics, and that is niches. Okay, niches are the very first thing that we need to focus on, because it's like the foundation of your house. If you don't have a strong foundation, then the house isn't going to be a solid structure, right? It could completely collapse. So we need to focus on this. Now, these are the 2 basic rules of niche selection. Is number 1, you're going to want to select a niche that's proven. You don't want to go after some like very obscure niche. Don't go after something that nobody has ever thought of. The reality is this: if nobody's ever thought of it, it's probably for a reason. It's probably because it doesn't perform well, or there's not money actually in that niche. So the way you can be certain of that is to go after sites like Angie, HomeAdvisor, Porch, or Thumbtack. And I showed you HomeAdvisor earlier. Why would we look at one of those websites? Well, because they have a proven track record of getting it right. So like look at HomeAdvisor, and you can go by category. They have different categories on here. And if you see a niche on here that resonates with you, then go ahead and pick it. You can view all categories, and literally everything that you could think of is here. And if they are having success with it, then you will probably have success with it too. So go through here and look, like maybe you want to niche down into plumbing and go after something like just like drain clearing. Or maybe you want to focus just on sprinklers. Okay, that is a good niche idea, sprinkler systems. So that's step 1. Step 2 with niche selection is that you want to focus on suburbs around larger cities, but not necessarily in the larger cities. So let me give you an example. If I want to go and search for, let's say, sprinkler system Milwaukee, for example. Let me pull that up on the screen for you to see. So I might not necessarily want to focus on Milwaukee as a city, because that might be a little bit competitive. But what I could do is zoom out a little bit and look at some other towns that are nearby, okay? And maybe I would focus on like Caledonia or Franklin or Waukesha over here. Okay, so those are some other ways of tapping into suburbs that are around the large city, but they're not necessarily in the large city. And what that does is you'll still scoop up leads from in the larger city, but you won't be competing with some of the big companies that are trying to rank there, like this Milwaukee Lawn Sprinkler Court or this My Bucket List Lawn Sprinkler Systems. Like those companies might be a little bit harder to compete with. Whereas if we scale out to some of the suburbs, we'll be competing with far less companies and we'll be able to actually go and get results a lot easier and a lot quicker. And really, if you want to hit this 10K in 90 days, these are the kinds of things you need to be thinking about, is how can you work smarter and not harder, right? Because we don't want to be spending a lot of money on trying to compete with them. Okay, so now you know how to select the niche. Let's talk about generating the leads for the niche. So you have a couple different avenues for doing this nowadays. When I first started, it was really just probably like website and Craigslist, okay? And I talked about Craigslist earlier. We can add that to the list. It's still viable depending on the niche, right? But website is kind of the main factor, the main thing if you want to really spend some time. So what you do is you set up a website, and this is kind of what your website is going to look like. You're going to name it something generic. So you don't want to name it like Bob's Roofing, because otherwise then you can only sell the leads to Bob. So you name it something generic, like I named this one after the city name. But you could also do something even generic like Affordable Roofing Company or Reliable Roofing. Like those are very generic names. And the main thing that you want is you want a call to action at the top, you know, by form or by phone number, depending on what you want to do. I talk more about this in my masterclass in the description of the video on how to really set this up. But the bottom line is think about what you want the action for them to take. You want to generate leads, so you need to give a way for that lead to like give you their information. So that needs to be on the website. Now, I recommend using something like highlevelpages.com to actually build out the website, because they have templates on just about anything you can think of. So we could come in here and say we want to build out a website for, let's say HVAC. We can come in here and type in HVAC and look at all these different templates that they have for HVAC. Like if I click on one of them and click the preview button, just like that, they have everything in here that is all set to go. And all you have to do is fill in the information. It's like drag and drop, and you can just literally type whatever it is that you want to replace this line of text and it will replace it. Like you don't have to be a coding expert to make this work. So highlevelpages.com is a really good way to build out a website if that's the way you want to generate leads. But there are some other ways to generate leads. Like social is another way that you could generate leads. You could create Instagram Reels, YouTube videos, and at the end of your video, you can put in a call to action to reach out if they need a free quote. Another thing that we do a lot is we use chatbots to generate leads as well. High Level Pages also does that too. So if you need help setting up a chatbot, you can set that up underneath the automation section of highlevelpages.com. And the chatbot will then go and respond to every comment. So the key, if you're going to do social for generating leads, is to make them comment something at the end, and then your chatbot will follow up to that comment and send them a DM. And you can use highlevelpages.com to automate that. Okay, and then lastly is you can generate leads for them via like LinkedIn or by email. Now I just did another video on using LinkedIn for lead generation, which you can check out. I will leave a link to that as well. You can check that out and see how we're really leveraging LinkedIn to generate leads. And I also go over email in that video as well. Okay, so now you know how to pick a niche, you know how to generate the leads. Let's talk about scaling, okay? Because if you're gonna scale and you're gonna really build a sustainable business, you need to think about how you can replace yourself out of the business, which is eventually what you wanna do. And that's usually around the point when you get to that 10K a month mark, or maybe even like 5 or 6K, that's when you're gonna wanna scale yourself out of the business. So what you'll do is you'll want to find ways to outsource some of the process and get yourself out of it. So some of the ways that you can do that is you can go on a website like upwork.com and you can hire virtual assistants that will help you with that stuff. So you could hire a virtual assistant to maybe help you build out the websites over at highlevelpages.com, or maybe you hire one to help you do the research. Like maybe they go and they research these niches like sprinkler system, and they go and they pick out the towns that you're gonna want to build these assets out in. So think about that. Like what can you outsource and replace yourself with and have someone else help you with stuff like that. The other thing is you can scale by finding lead buyers. So you could hire a virtual assistant that's going to go out and find people to buy these sprinkler system leads, or that's going to go out and find people to pay for these roofing leads. And that's usually just a process of following up. Like, you know, you could go and have them reach out to like maybe one of these companies and say, hey, I noticed that you have an irrigation company in the area. We have 5 leads a week coming in. Can you handle those calls if we send them to you? And then it's just a matter of hiring like a VA to follow up and be like, hey, just checking back. Like, how did the lead work out for you? Like, would you like to keep getting more? It's X amount per lead, like that. So you're gonna really think about outsourcing and using something like Upwork to hire a VA and get that outsourcing system in place. And then lastly is you want to have a good CRM. Again, I mentioned highlevelpages.com because it really kind of does it all, which is why we use it in our agency. But they do have a nice CRM built right in under the marketing tab. All of your conversations are in one place. They have calendar links, contacts, like everything is in there. So that's really going to help you keep track of who your VAs have reached out to or who you've reached out to, and just keeping the flow going with everything. So there you have it. We've covered niche selection, how to set up an agency for lead gen, and how to actually scale, and everything else that you need to know to get going with this business model. But if you're looking for even more information on how to set things up passively and really scale this up and need more help, be sure to check out the first line of the description of this video. I have a free masterclass that I'm holding that will break down even more details on how to automate and set up things to make sure that you're very, very successful with this business model. Until next time, please make sure that you subscribe. I'll see you in another video. I'm Paul James. Peace out.